And it's one of Silicon Valley's first U.S.-China startup accelerator programs. Innospring helps provide startups with capital, office space, and mentoring, typically in exchange for an equity stake. Well, to tell us about some of the new changes happening at Innospring, Mark New joins us live from Silicon Valley. Mark, this really is a one-of-a-kind program.
That's right, Michelle. In 2 years, Innospring's seed fund has so far invested about $2.5 million into 19 startups. Altogether, Innospring has helped out more than 50 startups, and that includes mentoring, providing office space, and a host of other services like legal and accounting. Innospring has been increasingly involved in the health and med tech sector, too. And less than a week ago, it officially announced that a new CEO had taken up the reins.
We made the thing black.
A transducer converts energy into ultrasound, which is used for detecting everything from pregnancy to disease. But for half a century, transducers have relied on lead-based materials that can raise health concerns. The startup Colo plans to change that by pioneering the use of silicon semiconductors in transducers. Co-founder Steve Duong says the result is 4D imaging technology that's 3 times clearer and able to capture the entire body with just one shot.
You can see a much higher definition ultrasound image, and you can see much deeper into the body. So it will enable physicians to make diagnoses that they were not able to make in the past.
Colo received its Series A funding through investors here at Innospring, Silicon Valley's first U.S.-China tech accelerator backed by both Chinese and U.S. investors. Innospring is venturing into the healthcare sector in more ways than one.
Go!
Entrepreneur Yifan Zhang came up with the idea for PACT, an app that motivates people to exercise and eat right, or else lose some money. If that sounds crazy, take note that PACT has more than 500,000 members. Users submit photo evidence of what they've eaten. GPS tracks whether one's checked into a gym. An accelerometer verifies the amount of physical activity.
We try to motivate people to hit their packs because that's how we get that really long 9-month retention rate. At the end of the day, people don't really care about the $5 they pay or the couple dollars they earn from the system. They care about being motivated to exercise and to eat healthy.
Most of Innospring's investments in the health sector show financial promise, but not always. Through a global network of hospitals, the startup Watsi allows users to crowdfund the healthcare costs of people in developing countries. Watsi got used to investors turning it down because there was no way to make money.
At Innospring, pretty much the opposite thing happened. They were more interested. They had really been excited about the idea of supporting a company that was doing something socially good in the world. They were interested in healthcare, and so we just kept the conversation going.
Gary shows us Watsi's impact by telling us about Priyanka, a 12-year-old whose burn injury restricted her movement so badly she couldn't even feed herself. Through Watsi, a simple $840 surgery loosened Priyanka's skin and is allowing the young girl to live a completely normal life. Helping to usher in a new direction is a new Innospring CEO, Dr. Xiao Wang. The biochemist brings to the table extensive experience in the world of health tech, biotech, and pharmaceuticals, all at the age of just 31. Dr. Wang was educated at both Tsinghua University in Beijing and Case Western Reserve in Cleveland, Ohio. I sat down with the new CEO of Innospring and began by asking her what she plans to do to make Innospring stand out from the competition.
We're thinking about from 2 angles. One, we need to compete domestically in the U.S. We want to become one of the most successful accelerator nationwide in the United States. That means the startup that we work with has to stand up and thrive in a short period of time and compete with Y Combinator and other competitors domestically in the United States that have a long history of success. Another way that we compete with them is to establish a global point of view and strategy in terms of scaling the accelerator business. So we already set up 2 offices in China and 1 in Europe later this year, and targeting a long-term global integration of resources and helping a sustainable growth for our startups company.
You have an accelerator program. What do you look for?
People who have disruptive technologies or business model that changes entirely how things are done right now and predict what the future is going to be like in 3 to 5 years. And people who are dedicated enough to make that change because they have to start educating the market because they're in the enterprise space. It's really hard for them to initiate and do things differently. Also, people who have a global vision to expand the market beyond a small market, actually targeting the entire globe. That's how you make a billion-dollar company to happen.
You have a heavy background in science. How does that fit in with the current trends of Silicon Valley?
I think the ability of understanding technology and understanding the lifestyle that it takes to nurture a new technology and commercializing it and eventually solving a real problem, that life cycle is something that really helps in terms of spotting the winners. Because it's easier for people to actually think of spotting a problem and think of ways to solve it, but it's much harder for someone to connect the technology and really coming up and executing a real solution in a scalable fashion. So that way, I think it helps me to really understand entrepreneurs, understand how they think, and being able to find ways to really help them.
Google recently revealed that their workforce had an extremely low percentage of minorities, 2% black, 3% Hispanic. Asians did make up 30%, but men outnumbered women 70 to 30%. What's your take on that?
The fact really is, I mean, the number says 40% of the most innovative companies are founded by immigrant founders. And it's so clear that immigrants are much more motivated in breaking out of the rules and starting from bottom up and really taking the risk and putting together, initiating an innovative solution. And I think it's all of our mission to support that effort, because without that, we're not going to be who we are today, and we're not going to advance in terms of human culture and the technology. And I think part of our involvement of being a first U.S.-China accelerator is really to support immigrants, especially immigrants that have a Chinese roots, and really start getting out of the corporate world and starting something they're really, really deep down passionate about, and for us to supporting them from day one. And in terms of supporting female, I think I am one of the female leaders, so I kind of understand the challenges of it. It's definitely challenging, but I have to say, the girls out of there, you just need to stand up and start doing that. And I do think there are advantages of being a female CEO, because, think about the cost of talking to strangers. It's much less cost for a female CEO to approach strangers in terms of networking and initiating relationships.
It's not easy getting into Innospring's accelerator. More than 4,000 startups have applied. Less than 1% get in. Innospring is also currently accepting submissions for its Smart Building International Startup Contest. The winning teams from Silicon Valley, Europe, Beijing, and Shanghai will all travel to Nantong, China, about an hour's drive north of Shanghai. And according to Dr. Wang, Nantong not only has a massive industrial base, but also a city government that is eager to utilize new technology to upgrade their city. Michelle.
All right, Mark, great report. Thanks so much, Mark. New live from Silicon Valley.